I'm your host, Jason Tartick, and welcome to Trading Secrets. We talk all things money on this podcast, and we're teaching all the stuff we just weren't taught in the classroom. Nothing supports this show more than liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by two fan favorites and cast insiders, Jesse Palmer and Wells Adams. Jesse, a former NFL quarterback and Bachelor alum turned sports commentator, TV host, and TV personality, and of course, the host of The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, all the Goldens, and Bachelor in Paradise. Jesse is joined with me today by Wells Adams, a friend of the show, former Bachelorette contestant, podcast host, TV host, and of course, the witty bartender of Paradise, always shaking things up. We are missing the queen of the Bachelor franchise herself, Hannah Brown, today, but after a year off from Paradise, the show is back premiering this week, and like Jesse said, it's unlike anything you've seen before. The buzz is building from rumored surprise guest appearances to fresh twists on old traditions and how the Golden Bachelors will be featured and incorporated into Paradise. We'll be digging into it all. Jesse, Wells, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I could have both you two for a couple hours individually, so together, we got a lot to cover in a short period of time. All right, well, this is a business podcast. Okay. Most of the stuff you guys are going to be doing media perspective are going to be pop culture only, so a little bit of a different approach. Jesse, I'm kicking it to you. You're the host of the franchise. You're the quarterback of the franchise. And I think in general, from a business perspective, we've just seen a lot happen with the franchise externally, internally. We've seen the Goldens. Paradise is back after being off from last year. We just saw Bachelor is renewed. There's just a ton of action. Huge competition like Love Island. Give me kind of the state of the union from the guy who's in charge, the quarterback. What's your take on where the show has gone, where you see it now, and what the projection looks like moving forward? Because that, of all the questions submitted, was like number one.
Yeah,
I think people want to hear from you.
I feel like there's a lot of new, and I think sometimes, and I don't know about Wells's perspective on this, but sometimes it's so much to kind of keep up with. I think that the challenge, at least for me personally, is just trying to stay focused on one thing at a time, because Paradise is back after taking a season off. Golden Bachelor was renewed. We've got that coming up. We've got Bachelor season 30 still coming up. There's new showrunners. There's new cast. There's so much stuff happening in the Bachelorverse. It was really exciting. The first step in all that, I think, was Bachelor in Paradise. And I think Wells and I sort of both showed up to the beach not really knowing what to expect, because we were in a new location. The Goldens were arriving to the beach. That was the first time that's obviously ever happened. We had Hannah Brown joining us as well, which was incredible. But with new showrunners, new cameras, we were just talking about that off camera here a moment ago. There's a new look. There's a new feel. The format of the show is a little bit different with some compatibility tests and things that the cast is doing. I think right now it's just sort of feeling it out, and we wanted to really kind of film that first show, get it in the tank. And I feel really good about what people are about to see. I'm really excited, for this first episode to really kind of get the feedback from Bachelor Nation watching it, because I think it is going to feel so new and so fresh and a little bit different. And so that's kind of how I look at it right now. It's exciting. It's an exciting time because there's a lot of new things happening.
Yeah, I mean, the cinematic appearance of episode 1 was really cool, and just like you could tell there's a change just in everything, the way we're just even seeing the teasers, which is awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on that a little bit, because it's an intricate dance that I think that we have to walk going forward, right? Like, the only constant in life is change, right? So everything is constantly changing. But there is this heritage following of Bachelor Nation that loves this one thing and doesn't probably want to see it change so much. So it's this dance that I think that we have to walk, which is, being cutting edge, being different, trying new things, but still staying true to the heart of what the show is, the mission statement of, finding love, the journey that precedes it, and, hopefully engagements and marriages and kids that happens, following. And I think that he's right. Like, we walked into this new situation not really knowing what it was going to be like and not really knowing how it was going to turn out. But then after doing the show, being really, really pleasantly surprised with how awesome it looks, how different it is, but then how it still stays true to, I think, what Bachelor Nation fell in love with initially.
Yeah, as a guy that's like way removed, but of course was on the show and roots for the show and only wants it to do well, I have to imagine in a think tank, you're thinking, you know, baby boomers and X, they got to stay.
Yeah.
Millennials have to stay. You have to capture Gen Z. And so I think when you look at like, you know, average ratings per season, you know, I was talking to Bachelor Data, you know that Instagram,
Yeah.
Susanna, she's awesome. And she kind of broke everything down with me from 2015 down to 2025. You know, you saw a decline and then a jump in Colton's and Peter's season, then a little bit of a decline, jump in Joey's season, and then, you know, it's been moving in that direction. A question I'm curious, just from the positions you guys hold, when you go into filming and you find out Paradise is greenlit, like let's roll, do you feel part of your job is to impact the ratings and make sure that the show is performing, even though you can only control so much of that?
I don't feel that way.
Okay.
I'm not the host of the show, but my take going into doing any of these shows is just try to make the best possible thing I can make that day. And just like,
that's cool. Just
as long as like I think I'm being funny or creative or coming up with ideas or whatever it is, as long as I can just do that one thing that one day, then it's good. I think if you get lost in the weeds about like ratings and, you know, success and all that kind of stuff, then you're not focusing on the right things. But I imagine for him it's a little bit different because you are the face of the show. But I bet you kind of come across it the same way that you did with football, right?
That's the analogy I was going to use is you know, making an awful football analogy as a quarterback. It's like, it's cool to go into new games, trying new things and adding new plays to the playbook and trying to execute some different ideas. But I think if you try to do too much, you just start throwing interceptions. When you're trying to be something you're not. I mean, the approach I've always taken is, even though I'm the host of the show's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about our cast. It's their story. Wells and I are kind of there to guide it and give information, give support where we can, Hannah as well, and just sort of be there to try to keep the vibes high. And I think viewers watching Paradise this year, I think, you know, we've talked a little bit about it. They're going to see some different things. They're going to see, I think, Wells and I and Hannah used in some different roles. Cool. But that's not a cognizant decision on our parts going in where we kind of come in thinking, hey, I want to be involved in this more. I want to do this. What's really cool, I'd say, about the producers on our season in Paradise, they were very open-minded, I think, to feedback from Wells, Hannah, and I, and ideas and trying things. And I think that's really important to kind of have that. But neither of us, I think, go into it thinking we have to drive ratings. We have to step up and do things differently as well and make sure we're pulling weight. I think it's a different mindset than that. Makes
perfect sense. You talk about roles, you know, something we talk about on this podcast all the time, resumes, job descriptions, how to beat the system. Let's talk about your role for a second. So you've been on Paradise before, you've been a bartender before, and it seems like season to season, maybe your role has changed a little bit. So give me the job description, give people a little bit of a tease. How would you write and summarize your job description as the bartender this year on Paradise?
Ooh, yeah, it's changed, right? So originally I was just the bartender, and then I became like the bartender and the therapist, and then I became like kind of the narrator.
You've always been a good therapist, by the way. You've therapized me before.
That's very true, yeah. With enough whiskey, I can convince anybody of anything. Yeah, and this one, it was much different, and I'm really grateful and thankful that these new producers kind of like opened up the playbook for all of us. Like, yes, I bartend. You know, I think that Hannah kind of takes over the role of like being the therapist and like the ear to talk to, which was kind of nice. It took a little bit of pressure off me and then let me just kind of like live in the comedy sphere of things. But then, you know, there's new activations and new things happening where they need kind of all hands on deck. And so I got to do some of that and help Jesse out and Hannah and I both. And so that was really fun. Like, so it was a completely new thing. So to answer your question, I don't know what the hell I do. It's a lot of stuff.
I don't know what the job description is.
I don't know.
It's good though.
I'm excited to see it too.
Like you see a lot of Wells like away from the bar this season, which is good. Yeah. Like he is absolutely, you tap into him a lot more on some of the other stuff we're doing, which I think was really great. I feel like in Costa Rica, it was a space that we were able to use a lot differently than in the past in Mexico, where it was kind of like a bar, small beach. Can't really swim in the water.
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's a couple chairs out there, and you can go to any of them. But
and for you, it was like Gates of Paradise.
Yeah, walk down the steps, in the Palapa, sweat, and then go back.
And then go back. Up,
yeah,
down,
where
up, down.
Yeah, Costa Rica, there was like multiple pools. There was a big beach. You could be in the water. It just provided so much more space to do different things in. And Wells had mentioned, some of the things that we activate in these compatibility tests were really, really cool and really interesting. Something we hadn't done a lot in the past. I feel like in the past on the show, a lot of the cast spent time alone or with their significant other. I think these tests and challenges sort of brought everybody together in a group setting, which was good because I think it helped them learn more about each other from a connection standpoint with a hopeful love interest, but also learn more about each other as well. It was interesting. So my role was kind of sometimes like game show host.
Okay.
Like, because you're setting up the challenge, you're setting up the test,
and
you're moderating it and kind of going through it. So that was a bit of a different role as well.
Yeah, so it's like competition meets love. That's a whole different spin on the franchise, or it has been for a while now, right? We haven't had that since like Winter Games or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Jesse, when you're doing Golden, you're doing Bachelor, you're doing Bachelorette and Paradise, it feels like from a third-party perspective, from a high level, Paradise is the ultimate curveball as far as like how your role impacts the show. From a producing perspective, from like when you come down and how you interact, do you feel that way? And if so, could you give us a little behind the scenes?
It's interesting. When you're hosting The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or Golden Bachelor or Golden Bachelorette, there's sort of one key, there's a lead and then the connection and all the different relationships, and that's sort of what you're watching.
Yeah.
I feel like on Paradise, it's just like herding cats. Like there's just like 18 different, like there's relationships and drama and stuff happening. This season, the Golden they're showing up and they're getting in the mix, and it's like Wells is doing his thing, Hannah, and it's like there's just so much to try and track.
Yeah.
What I will say, unlike the other shows though, is that it can go off script really quickly. I'd argue maybe even faster.
Do you like that or do you not?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like things to like, I like 2-minute offense. Like I like to just
play break it down a little bit.
I like to scramble a little bit and just not always throw on time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And do not change your answer because I'm here. What show is your favorite to make?
Stop stealing my question.
Yeah.
That
wasn't ChatGPT. That wasn't ChatGPT. That was a great question.
Steven wrote that question for me.
I mean, like the answer is I don't know. Like they're all great, but so much of it I think depends on casts.
Well, you've talked before that your favorite thing to do is live shows,
Yeah.
and I believe that to be true. But then after that, I'm wondering, like what you've gotten the most enjoyment out of.
It's I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like I like the different shows, I guess, for different reasons. There's a whole bunch of different reasons, but I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to like the people and the experience and what ended up happening. But I don't mind when something breaks down and a camera crew has to follow you into someone's room to try and help them in a situation or something. And I think, we may or may not run into that on this upcoming season of Paradise. There's times where, it's like, I mean, I think it's more fun. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's like when you're going in to start filming, it's kind of nice to know what's not going to or what's going to happen.
For sure. Well, then it makes it authentic.
Yeah.
But I was thinking for you, because I think that Paradise is the best show, like to work on. It's so much fun. You get to go live on a beach for a month, and I make drinks and I crack jokes, and the stakes are low for me because I'm already married and all this kind of stuff. But like what I love about Bachelor Nation and all the shows that are made is storytelling is like usually the most important thing, right? And the thing that I didn't expect to like really fall in love with or like have it like really touch me was what the Goldens did, like like Jerry's season. Gary's season. Because they've lived so much life.
Sure.
And like their storytelling is so much more deeper and it's so much more interesting. And I didn't think like watching a bunch of old people date would be something that I would love, but then I watch it and I was like, that's such a good show. It's so fun. And that's what I was super pumped about this season going into it, knowing that
we get a piece of that.
Yeah. And then going back to your thing about like, you got to have millennials and the boomers, right? And you got to have Gen Z and whatever. And we are on a set with kind of the entire gamut of generations, right? Like we're the millennials, I guess. And then you have these Gen Zers who come first, and then you have the boomers that come later. And so in a perfect world, everyone should be watching this show, and I hope that's what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get back to having the Goldens on Paradise, because that's a whole unique, different twist. One thing I want to ask you while we're on it, though, to follow up to your question, you think about what you're doing, sports commentating, college game day, for something like Paradise. Mm-hmm. When you think about like creativity, stimulation, all the different things, like which is more challenging?
Football is exciting because I put my quarterback hat back on and I study film for a week, and then I get a 3.5 hour window on Saturday to just regurgitate everything I've learned and try to dissect and talk about what I'm seeing in the moment, live in a stadium in the SEC, normally with close to 100,000 people, and it's exhilarating. But I got to tell you, the live shows, especially like after Final Rose, are incredible. And it's just like you mentioned earlier, I love live TV and I love being on the spot. And I love that you can't, if you screw up, you just got to keep going. Yeah. You got to just scramble and go. And so I like both for different reasons. I wear completely different hats, obviously, in both. Yeah. But it's like, it's nice for me to have a balance. Yeah. And I'm lucky enough to get to do both, sometimes at the same time.
So cool.
Yeah. I mean, there have been times on the show where like I've flown from like Edinburgh, Scotland to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to like from like a rose ceremony to go call an SEC game. And you're on the plane and you're like trying to digest what I just saw and what happened just at Grant's rose ceremony.
Like brutal heartbreak.
And then you're like, this Alabama defense is unbelievable. It's so hard to run against. The 3 technique is incredible. And then you have to switch the hat again. So so it's a lot of fun that way.
One of the things I remember listening to Chicks in the Office back in 2022, and they asked you about taking this role on, and the big word you used was, I was surprised. I was surprised I got the call, but I got the call. Mm-hmm. Since then, fast forward 3 years, it's just as far as the career of hosting and being part of a very, very passionate fan base. Yeah. What's been the most surprising thing in taking on this?
I think that the fans, like when I was the Bachelor over 20 years ago, I remember there being a great following, but social media and years of this incredible show growing because of people like you, growing and growing and growing, it has become this unbelievably passionate fan base that has just multiplied. I mean, it's a force. Yeah. I'd like to know another fan base on another reality show or show period that's as outspoken, passionate, up to date, educated, that talks more about it than Bachelor Nation. I mean, it's literally like playing for the New York Giants or the Florida Gators again. And so that's the part that surprised me the most, is just how dialed in. There's no off season. Yeah. I mean, and now that we have, we've added shows since I started hosting. And so, I mean, it is just, it's a constant cycle. I mean, I could spend 24 hours on Reddit.
Ugh,
just
don't
reading.
Do it.
I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, I mean, there's always people talking about
it. Stay away.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they're passionate about the alumni too. Oh my God, you think it's over? It's not. A question I got for you is: you didn't expect to take this role on. It was surprising. You've taken it on. You've thrived in it. You then go to Alabama and you're calling a college football game. You see these two worlds into your career. They're night and day. And you didn't expect it. Yeah. So we talk a lot about career tracking on this podcast in pretty much every industry, from Sharks to Shark Tank to Sergio Garcia and Gronk and A-Rod who have been on here. When you think about what's next, 5 years, 10 years, how do you merge all these skill sets and like what now becomes the dream? What now is the call that you're like, I surprised to get?
I don't know. And the truth is I've never really known. Like, I didn't know I would end up in television. When I was at Florida, I got a degree in marketing with a minor in education and a certificate of international relations, a degree in political science. And television sort of found me. What I know I'll do, though, is I won't say no. Okay. That's probably been my biggest lesson I've learned in my career, is when you say no to things right away because you don't think it's going to be a great fit, you just close a lot of doors immediately without giving things chances. I've learned a lot about myself saying yes to different jobs, not sure if I was going to like it or not, but trusting that if I didn't like it, I knew I wouldn't have to do it again. And I could sort of just peacefully walk away and move away from that. But saying yes to most things has worked out well for me.
One follow-up to that is, since being the Bachelor to now, all those years later, is there anything you did say no to that you might have thought twice about, or you learned that lesson from saying no to something?
No, I haven't said no too often. There are a few roles that I turned down, but I knew I either wasn't ready for it or it just wasn't what I ended up wanting to do. And so I try to be as thoughtful as possible and careful, but I have to say, truthfully, I'm at peace with most every decision I've made.
Okay. I'm curious your response to my thought process. I'm actually curious your response as well. I think, again, in this podcast, we hit and look at and I analyze all different career paths. When we think about hosting, I think what happens in reality TV is a lot of people go on reality TV. They get this shot of stardom. They're in front of the camera. And then they immediately think they can get off the show and go be a host somewhere. And I've always been a big proponent of being a host is like such a dialed in skill set, like those live audiences and being able to maneuver questions and all the things you're doing. The idea of going on a show and becoming a host is like someone saying like they became on reality TV and then they're going to be an actor or just I'm going to go pick up and be a doctor. It takes so much time. And when you were announced as the host, I was like, makes perfect sense. You've been with Disney forever. Your resume's endless. My take is a host is an acquired position through so much work and dedication and live TV and anchoring and all the things. That's my response when I'm talking to someone who gets out of reality TV who says, I'm going to go be a host next year. I'm curious what your opinion is based on what I've said, given the decade plus that you've been in the position.
I agree with you. I learned a pretty valuable lesson, I think, when I was at ESPN, my first couple of years on TV. I learned that the people that are really, really good at doing it make it look easy, and that's why everybody thinks they can do it. So I was super lucky to work with John Saunders, Chris Fowler, Reese Davis, some legends, Robin Roberts at Good Morning America, who I saw this morning, like arguably the most talented person I've ever shared TV with, outside of Wells Adams. And it's right here. And it's like they're the ones that I think make people at home just go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like obviously I'll host. Like like look how easy it is. Look how they talk about football. Whatever. I'm just gonna go and talk about football. And what you learn is just watching them and seeing their process and how much work really goes into it gave me a real appreciation for it. So I didn't start hosting things until years after I started I was working as a college football analyst because I mean I had to pay attention and make sure I was ready and do shows, get the reps. But it was a 15-year process before I started hosting the Bachelor franchise. So it wasn't like it just happened overnight.
Right.
I didn't go to school for it, but it was a lot of years and a lot of shows and a lot of reps before. It is difficult. It's super enjoyable. It's challenging, but that's what makes it rewarding. At the end of the day, it's something that I love doing.
I love it. Wells, being married, of course, to Sarah and a very well-known actress, and then now you're working your way into the hosting space. You've hosted your own TV shows. You have multiple podcasts. What's your take on what I said?
Yeah, like I had my first radio show when I was 16. Like I did go to college for it. Like I have a broadcast journalism degree. I worked in Nashville in radio for 12 years. So like long before I went on The Bachelorette, I had done my 10,000 hours of like hosting. I was a morning show host, an afternoon drive host, and a night show host all on the same day. So there is like when people say that, what you're saying of like, well, I was on, Love is Blind, and now I'm going to be the host of like the next show. It's like, no, you're not, because it's a really hard job to get. And two, like the second we put you in a room and we make you do like prompter reads and hit your marks and like yada, 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 it's going to be evidently clear that you are not at the caliber of a Jesse Palmer. And to brag on him a little bit, like I am really good at like prompter reads. I'm really good at being off the cuff, improv-y stuff. But like if you give me a bunch of lines, I can turn it into like my words. Jesse has got the like quarterback football mind where like he will look at copy. And I'm married to a woman who used to learn her lines for Modern Family in the hair and makeup chair. And so like I know like people who are good at this. Jesse runs circles around anyone I've ever seen, be able to absorb information, hit a mark, one take wonder, and he's out of there.
Do you want the money now or later?
No, he's really good at it.
I think I have a new agent.
I am truly though, like because I'm in the background. Every shot he comes up, he walks up, and I also know what he's gonna say, right? And so I'm sitting there, and I'll be like, all right, let's see how this is gonna go. And it's ding, 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 later, and then I'm like, oh my god,
pause,
he nailed
the
it!
Exit, the deep breath, all of it, the wink at the end. I love it.
He's so good at it. So yeah, it's he's right. Like the trick is making something that's extremely difficult look really, really easy to do.
I love it. In this interview, I'm balancing between my pop culture and Bachelor Nation fans and my career fans. Real quick on the career perspective, people are always interested. Like how this is a tough career, the hosting career and being in TV. When were you informed that you'll be the bartender of paradise? Like how well informed are you that you know that this role is coming? Because in this space, we've heard from a lot of people on the podcast is that sometimes it's the day before, sometimes it's years before, and it's tough to plan for the future because you don't know what's next.
Okay, well, I mean, like I started season 4 bartending, so I learned like back then. But for this specific season, oh yeah, I think that I was told that like ABC wants me to come back like a couple months before we went and filmed.
So that the follow-up question that is when you're projecting like and thinking through and navigating your career, like how do you forwardly think about
I think we were planning, I was hoping that it was going to come back.
Yeah.
And so I was like keeping that time open for the show. It was this one was different though because my contract had run out from the last cycle, and so we had to like start a new one. So it was like, are they going to come to me or are they going to go to somebody else?
But how could they do that though?
But, dude,
like to me, like I'm just saying, like you're super modest and that's great, but it's like there is no paradise without Wells though. You're like, to me, he's the face of paradise. Like, for all the years. So as soon as the show gets greenlit, you can tell Sarah, like, I'll be gone from.
How much did you guys exchange? Did you guys pre-plan all this?
He's my manager now. But like,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that like my job is the one that everyone asks to do every season. And the reason why I know it is because producers will be like, so-and-so asked, so-and-so asked, so-and-so asked.
Sure.
And then I'm like, all right, that's fine. I get it. I'd probably do the same thing. So I'm just waiting for like that one person. Like the Goldens, there were a couple of Goldens that were really coming for my job. Like, all right.
They'd be asleep though. Before like 11 o'clock.
They're doing the early bird special.
Early bird, yeah. All right, well, that's a good transition back into Paradise. A lot of people listening right now are excited to hear from you two on it. We talked about Goldens. Let's just call a spade. There's a lot of this conversation about this age gap, the Belichick stuff. You saw you had Bachelor Nation alumni weighing in on it. The overall take. Now, what's your perspective? Are we going to see a little age gap flirting? Talk to me about it. Tease the difference in the age gap because everyone's talking about Reddit's talking about it. Alum's talking about it. It's
Listen,
the clickbait out there.
What I told the cast was, obviously we've got 2 generations here on the beach. Here's the thing: I can't, Wells can't, Hannah can't. We can't tell anybody who to love and who they can't love.
Of course,
can't say that.
Yeah.
What I encouraged them to do was just to stay in their generational lane.
That's a good.
And above all, just don't make it weird. Is what I told them. Right?
Yeah,
and
you said don't make it weird a lot.
Yeah, like whatever, like. And that's not to say it happens.
Does
or
it get
doesn't
weird?
happen. It gets real weird. Like real early.
Kind
of like a little too close to us. Actually.
Okay, all right.
At times,
things you can't control as a host.
No, that's right. And so like, and I feel like the structure of Paradise is sort of set up to help keep people in their lane, but it's. People are gonna have to tune in and see.
More to come.
The backlash of it was interesting to me. Like I understand it could come across as creepy and all that kind of stuff, but if the show is supposed to be a microcosm of real life, and if this show is supposed to be a singles retreat, right?
Yeah.
Like effectively that's what it is. We're filming a singles retreat. I don't think that normal singles retreats have age limits. I think that anyone can go, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason that's not weird, but it's like not cool if it happens on the televised version. That never made any sense to me. Like if this happens in real life, then it should be happening in real life on our show. And to that point, like I think that people are freaking out over something that they don't really need to freak out about. Like the Goldens bring so much to the show that like by the end of it, I think everyone that watches the show is going to say, I'm really glad that they were there.
To me, it was very clear that what was being discussed was specifically what you had said. Like singles are out there. We don't know what's going to happen. And I think those who could be a little bit too judgmental maybe were thinking that narrative was being pushed, and that narrative wasn't being pushed. You're just like, there's singles out there. We don't know what the hell's going to happen, and that's life. I could bring some of my friends on this podcast, and they could have a story or two about them in an age gap. But let's get away from that. I want to hear the cast has been announced, so we all know who's on the show at this point. Who, from a host perspective, bartender's perspective, who surprised you the most from the cast that's been
I'll just say for me, Dale was someone that I didn't know. I wasn't hosting when he was on. Obviously, he has a big story. He's a big part of during his time, with Claire. And so, but even on that season, you didn't really get to know him that well because he wasn't on it that long. Like it was only a couple episodes before they had left together. So I was really curious about him. He's obviously, I follow him on social media. He's handsome. He's successful. Sure. He's been away for a while. Yeah. So Paradise for me is always a lot of fun because I feel like it's a giant reunion. I'm back with the cast, whether it was The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or one of the Goldens, and you get to kind of see everybody together. But that was one of the few this year who I didn't know anything about, except that he's a former football player, and I knew I'd probably have a lot in common with him. Yeah, I expected him to do very, very well just based on how he looks.
Sure. Yeah.
But he was a guy that I was really excited to see come to the beach and see how he would do.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Paradise is a redemptive story for everybody.
Sure.
Right? And not to say that Dale was a villain at all, but I feel like his experience on The Bachelorette was so unlike anyone else's that he didn't get a fair shake or an experience that you and I had on The Bachelorette. So I was happy that he got to come and kind of experience Paradise in a different version of the show.
Yeah.
He's also really handsome. Everyone
he's a good looking guy.
Yeah. I tell you, but I love Kat. Kat is such fun TV person to be around, neurotic and crazy and beautiful and doesn't want to be there but keeps coming back. I love having her in Paradise. To me, she's the most Paradise-y cast member that we've got.
Okay,
Kat and she got air conditioning this year.
Yes. She got air conditioning.
So she was the one. It was her and Justin. Those were the two that I kept saying.
Let
everybody here know how good you have it this time around with air conditioning, swim out pools from your room where you're staying. I mean, the accommodations were night and day. In my opinion, from where they were before.
I remember when Colton put an air conditioner actually in his check-in, as an advantage, competitive advantage to everyone else out there. Speaking of which, rivalries and alliances do exist in shows like this. From an early stage on, something maybe we haven't seen yet or we will see soon. Any rivalries or alliances that you guys caught from a distance that we should be aware of or you could tease?
I would say without getting too specific, there definitely are rivalries and alliances, individual ones, but I would say there's also group alliances and rivalries coming up.
Okay.
You even see on the Super Tees some alliances and some enemies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had to summarize this group start to finish in one word, romantic, let's say chaos, or let's say a Bachelor favorite, dramatic, which word would you pick, Wells?
Okay, so of the three words,
romantic, chaotic, or dramatic. Number one.
I'm gonna go with the romantic.
Okay.
Out of the three, I would also say romantic.
Okay.
But it's just but it's just such a versatile
group
cast and group.
Yeah.
Really in almost every way.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
I love it. We know that you and Hannah are obviously part of the show. Are there any other alumni you can share with us who will be making appearances?
No.
No, you don't know if you can share, or no, you can't?
Both, I guess.
No, they don't show up.
Aren't we enough for you?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get into some behind the scenes, more of a rapid fire here. So a lot of people were asking, how long is actual filming?
It took a month.
Yep. Took a month.
Yeah.
And then
and we were being more involved every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. This was so. I was around with Chris and now with Jesse, and it used to be that I had to be on set all day, and they had the princess track where like they just came in and was like, hey guys,
Sure.
and then it was gone. This one's different. Like Jesse is working a lot more this season.
That's what I was going to ask. Because
Yeah.
that was probably top 3 questions. Like, what is your schedule like? Like, you're there for a month, but like, what is it actually
Yeah,
like?
so for this season, it was like off and on all throughout the day, and then we spent an inordinate amount of time in the control room. That was actually was really cool, like watching all the action as well. In the past, the place that I used to stay was an hour away from where we were actually filming. This season, we were living right there. So I could wake up in the morning, get breakfast, literally get an espresso and like walk in the control room and start watching the conversations as the cast are waking up and going out and getting breakfast and swimming up and doing all those sorts of things. So it was just from a logistics standpoint, this year was great because Wells and I, we were like, I used to see Wells, we'd grab dinner with Sarah, maybe head into Sayulita like a couple times a season. Yeah. This time, I mean, we're celebrating his birthday. We were always together. We could like just kind of be around each other and like grab drinks together. Like someone goes over to the other person's home outside of filming, and it was nice.
It was cool. Actually, there was kind of a new crew, but then there was a lot of old crew there. But this one was different. Like I felt like the camaraderie in the crew was really, really good, and I think it had to do with the fact that we were all living in the same place, and it wasn't that hour and a half drive from Puerto Vallarta into Sayulita. And I've always said this after seeing Modern Family and that crew and that cast work together, and I'm 100% believe that the reason why that show was so successful is because everyone loved working with everyone else. It comes across on screen. And I have a feeling that's going to happen in this one because I do feel like the vibes are really high with cast and crew, more so than in years past.
I love it. All right. One thing I always ask contestants, past leads, past people that are on the show is when they're preparing for the show, how much they actually spend and what they pack and how many bags they pack. But I've never been able to ask a host or bartender. So as you guys are preparing, what does it look like? How many bags do you pack? How much do you spend? What does it look like from
I brought one carry-on.
One carry-on?
Yeah, for a month.
Okay.
It was Jay Palmer. It was Jay Palmer workout gear.
Okay.
And it was a bathing suit, and I lived in flip-flops.
Yeah.
Like, go to see Carrie Fettman, our stylist.
Yep.
Get changed in my gear.
Yep.
And then you're walking out on set, and then back into workout gear and flip-flops.
I love it. Well,
I don't think I don't think I wore pants like offset. I don't think I wore pants for a month.
That is the dream.
Yeah.
Well,
similar. I brought golf clubs.
Yep.
Played one time. And then I brought like a carry-on with flip-flop shorts. And then I have a bar uniform, right? So I have to wear that every episode. And then for rose ceremonies, I have a different uniform.
Yep.
So Carrie was in charge of getting that for me. So
I love it. I got a million more questions for you, but we got to wrap here.
Okay.
Before I wrap, it's a finance question. Both of you have had a lot of financial success since your time on The Bachelor. So talk to me about the best thing you've purchased or best investment that you've made since your time on The Bachelor with money that you've made from the career trajectory from The Bachelor. So best investment that you've made since your time on the show and the best purchase that you've made. Who wants to start?
You want me to go or you want to go?
You can go ahead.
Best investment. Now, I don't know if this is fiscally the best investment, but like the thing that I love that I did, joined a country club.
Interesting.
Yes, it
You don't
drains
hear
money
that.
out, but like one, it's really good for business, taking clients or whatever, playing golf. But then in terms of like when I do want to unwind and have fun, like it's a great place. And the camaraderie is fantastic. And also like it's so hard to find tea times if you're not part of a private club. I know this is the most like bougie thing
That's
ever.
how you know he's had success.
It's like, dude, I can't get on.
Exactly. It's so hard to get on.
Exactly. You should really enjoy
What
the
a
golf
great
club.
investment. All right, so I'm calling that your best purchase.
Yeah, my best purchase. My best investment is always, I talked about this last time I was on your show, it's always been real estate. Like,
I just found out my buddy in Nashville built your fence. Oh,
yeah,
your buddy.
really?
That's our same
that's
buddy.
who just called me.
Talked to him.
Satterfield?
Yeah, Satterfield just built your fence.
By the way, you met your buddy
Through
at
you.
my wedding.
No, I knew him before. I met him through Gurney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll figure this out another time.
Anyways, it's
we only
real
have a couple
estate.
minutes. All right, Jesse, best investment, best purchase.
The best investment was Boglehead's Guide to Investing. I read the book on one of our exotics, and it totally changed my outlook on passive investing and something that my wife and I have been doing for the last 5. I'd love to pick your brain about it sometime.
Cool. Yeah,
and just been like we've become like little finance geeks. We think it's really interesting and educational, but also has allowed us to sort of take control of our own financial destiny that way. That's more of like in terms of investing in our education and setting a plan and savings.
Amazing.
It's been great. Easily the best purchase I've made is a La Marzocco espresso maker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I have one. I have one
lines.
in Miami and I have one in LA, and it is worth the investment as an espresso
Say it again.
head. La Marzocco.
Oh, that was,
Wow.
Yeah, it's worth it. But I mean, you have to grind it yourself. You temp it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you're making espresso martinis for Justin.
As a single,
back on the beach.
as a single guy, I need to figure out what that was. Repeat it on dates and things, because that was a vibe right there.
It's gonna change. You should get one in the studio.
We're gonna get one right here. All right, last we got to wrap with the trading secrets, so people can only learn it from you. They can't learn from a professor, from a YouTuber, TikTok tutorial. Only through your experiences. It could be career, finance. It could be something about paradise and hosting. Anything from professional, personal, or financial matters, but it's a trading secret specific to your track. Who can lead us off here?
I don't know if I said this the last time I was on this show, but
I'll tell you if you did.
Okay. It's really hard to fire a guy that everyone really likes.
You did say that.
Yeah. And I stick by it too.
That's
like
true.
if no one's ever getting rid of the guy that's a vibe and always showing up and working hard. And if you can do that, I think you'll really be successful.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mentioned this earlier, but I mean, I believe it not just in career, but in life too. Just don't be afraid to say yes more to things and embrace the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Find out about yourself in unfamiliar situations with unfamiliar people, because that proves beneficial to learn more about yourself. It's just, I get it. We always want to be comfortable. We want to be surrounded by familiar and everything we do. I think in love, I think professionally, I think in our career, whatever it is, family. But the more, I think stress is good. I think the right kind of stress is good.
Sure.
And if you can control what that stress is and find out about yourself, I think we should be testing ourselves a lot and just learning about ourselves. It's not about succeeding or failure. I think it's about self-awareness and learning about you. I think is really, really important.
I love it. And sitting here with two extremely successful people in the space, one of the cool things I've learned from both you two is you would expect that you guys have a blueprint to get where you have gotten. And just from your storytelling, it's clear that's not the case. You say yes to opportunities, you learn from people around you, and you keep putting yourself in positions to win. And when you're likable, it's likely you'll be hireable. So I love it. That is this episode of Trading Secrets. Where can everyone find everything you guys have going on and all things Paradise?
ABC, Hulu on Disney Plus, I'm being told. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Paradise is Mondays on ABC and then stream the next day on Hulu on Disney Plus.
Disney
You got to
Plus.
figure it out. Yeah. And then he is going to be calling games coming up very soon.
College football on ABC.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
You got a cooking show going on?
Holiday Baking Championship is coming up.
Wow.
Yes, this fall.
This is your agent right
I
here.
know. This is weird. What am I forgetting? Jay Palmer at Fanatics.
Yeah,
for
the
your,
clothing
NFL
Fanatics,
and
let's
college
go.
gear. I'll get you.
I got the Bill stuff.
You got some stuff. Okay, I'll send you some more for the 25.
I didn't know it was with Fanatics, so that's sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's great. That's
good
fun.
stuff.
Yeah,
cool. I'm an investor in Fanatics. There we go. All right. Well, thank you guys for being on this episode of Trading Secrets, Bachelor in Paradise. Everyone, stay tuned, and you guys got more press to do. So, thank you for being here.
Here we go. See you, bro. That was great.